Hello, and welcome to episode 18 of the Money Talks. And I have another very interesting guest with a very interesting journey joining us today. And it doesn't require much of an introduction because this is now a third time founder because in doing his third venture, Mr. Pranjal. Pranjal, how are you?
Thanks, Anirudh. Glad to be here.
Good. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you over here. We've obviously known each other for a long time now as investors in your company, but this must be really interesting time because you're in a sector that's affected the most by COVID.
Definitely. So our space has been badly hit because of COVID. Our situation in March and April dropped to almost, from 100% revenue to almost 10 to 20% within a span of couple of weeks. So of course, our entire space is badly hit, but I believe this is the right time for companies who have good tech bandwidth and who have planned to innovate.
And you know what? It's really going to be exciting because to hear, and we'll talk about it later a little bit about your plans of how you're going to emerge out of COVID much stronger, much more resilient, and with a much more powerful team. But before we get there, Pranjal, let's talk a little bit about where you started. I believe you're one of the few entrepreneurs that I know from Sivam, Bihar, and that's you consider that to be a hometown.
Yeah, Sivan and Gopalganj. Yes, so my parents are from Bihar, and I have spent a few early years in Gopalganj and Sivan district. My father was part of Indian Air Force, so had opportunity to travel across India while growing up.
Oh wow! So you're a military child.
Yes.
Oh wow, good. I think there's so much exposure the military children get because they get posted in so many the parents get posted in so many different places and they get to really see India probably from a much more different perspective than we do. Do you think that you being you're being a military child has had any effect on how you run your companies today?
So I think a lot of agility comes from that experience when you are ready to leave any city in 2 3 years time span and always ready to pack your bags and willing to move to another part of the country. So yeah, I do believe some sort of agility is maybe borrowed from those experiences.
What's the ecosystem like? What is Sivam Bihar known for?
Not too many good things. Siwan is a very small district in Bihar. It's close to eastern UP. Unfortunately, we do not have a lot of good stories coming out of Bihar, Siwan. But it's a small district, has good connectivity, and most of the people are either in farming or they are working with government.
And after that, you attended the Atal Bihari Vajpayee IIITM Institute, did your bachelor's and MBA in IT before taking up a job with Aujas Networks. I
Right.
think you were a consultant there for a couple of years. What was the life plan? What was the life plan to become an entrepreneur, or was it something different?
Right. So I joined a 5-year course in IIITM. The whole idea was to complete BTech and MBA in one go. So I'm supposed to be a good product guy because my entire education has been around IT systems, BTech and MBA around that.
You say
And
supposed to be as if you're not.
I think market should tell those things whether how good we are doing in terms of building right product. But that, I mean, in terms of the entire batch size, if you look at people who are graduating from IIITA, I find at least 50 or 60% people are doing something in building products. So we always had that mindset. Even during college, we were part of a couple of startup initiatives. I was also fortunate to work with Aujas as my first company. I was the third team member in the identity and access management team there. Mr. Rao and Samir, they were amazing. They had success stories, prior to Aujas as well. So I got a chance to closely see the life of entrepreneurs in my very early days of life, and I think that's what kept me moving
What
forward.
did Ojas do? So for the people that would not know, what did Ojas do?
So Aujas is again an IDG funded company. So they were into information security services business mainly. So they started from India,
Okay.
moved to US and it recently got acquired. I think last year they got acquired by NSEIT.
And so that was that your first taste of VC, and then an inspiration to do VC after that?
Yes. So unfortunately, I haven't been very lucky with the on the VC front, but yeah. So I got to work with Aujas very closely with entire management team there, and got a first-hand experience and exposure of what it is like to build a company from scratch, solve different part of problems, starting from building product, hiring to GTM to partnership.
And then what part of that experience, obviously being part of a very early what I would say the very early VC, companies funded in the very early stage of VC in India, right? And when things were just developing, I mean, IDG was called IDGL, not Charity, right? What was that experience like, and how did that have any effect on the way you built a company later on, or thought about building a company later on?
So I believe all our policies and mindset is borrowed from our prior experiences. So even in when we were working with Aujas, most of our policies and thought process were borrowed from Wipro, because people have spent good amount of time. Most of the management and senior people, they had experience with Wipro. So our way of working is somewhere has some element from our prior experience. And I think even today, some of our policies, our way of doing things, that can directly be linked with what we have experienced in our early career days.
To that point, Pranjal, do you think that, again, this is not something we had talked about earlier, but just came to mind, that because you had a couple of years stint at Aujas, you were obviously it was an early company, but even then there was some structure around you. You weren't the guy running the show. You were just given maybe one or two functions and told to run with it. Do you think that kind of an upbringing is preferred to, let's say you just graduated from triple ITM and straight away become an entrepreneur or a founder? You think the pathways would have been different for you if you hadn't done Aujas?
So today, if you ask me, probably I would have taken a different path. And wherever I get an opportunity, I say that we should have experience of 3 different type in our life before we start to build a company, because it's a long journey. It requires different type of mindset and some exposure. So we should work in a very small team where we have power to build and quickly change things. We should also have exposure and experience of a very large organization, process driven organization, where we believe in the power of processes and working in a very different type of structure. And the third experience should be in a mid-sized organization, let's say 100, 200 to 1,000 people company, where you have both. Once you go through these 3 different phases, I think you are ready. Some people might be able to grasp everything in a 1 year or 2 years of span. Some people might take more time. But having these 3 experiences is definitely valuable.
And at what point did you decide, you know what, I'm done now, I need to spread my wings, I'm going to go solo, and I'm going to start this company called Piquor Technologies, right? Is that what it was called?
Right.
What led to that decision to start a company?
So while working with Aujas, though it was a small company, we were mostly deployed at client side. So there I had an opportunity to work with large clients like HP and all. So over a period of 2 to 3 years time, I could get a sense of what is happening in larger organization and how a small and agile team functions at likes of Aujas. And then somebody of one of my friend Bharat, so he approached that, hey, we are planning this cool hardware product, and would you like to join? I said, yeah, why not? Let's explore it. So it was shared with me. Bharat Jain, he was one of my college friend, Bharat Jain and Arpit Gupta. So both of them reached out to me, and I was the third guy to join that team.
Wow. And what did Piquor do? What was the product? What was the technology?
So Piquor was a selfie booth back in 2011-12. So we used to build large format touchscreen devices, and that had ability to capture photos, share it on social wall. It used to have branding.
And was this like a paid service? Was it free? What was the motivation?
So this used to be free for people, for the end users, but businesses. So from our perspective, this was a hardware as a service model. We used to rent it out, and businesses used to pay a couple of thousands for having it inside their premises. For them, it was a data collection source. For them, it was organic branding on social media through their existing guests.
You obviously but where did the idea get born? Like, I understand this is like pre-Instagram days, right? We're talking 2011, and I'm guessing you would have really loved if there was something known as the Instagram feed or the Instagram stories, right? Back then, this would have really been a hit product. but you guys
Correct.
sort of were 8 years, or rather 5 years too early.
So we saw people clicking photos next to Hard Rock Cafe somewhere. So, and that's when
Mhm.
Bharat they thought that this can be a, let's give them a proper way to flaunt their presence. And these devices used to be installed in clubs, even in malls, and airport also had a couple of devices for quite some time.
Did you guys raise any money? How was this all funded? The 100 machines.
So we raised some small amount, friends, family mainly, but that was a good test bed for us to learn what not to do in India, how not to build a hardware intensive business.
So tell
And
us more. What is not to be done in India?
so scalability was a problem. Also, when hardware is one of your core product, and you do not have competency to design it in your own lab, that's not the right mindset and right way to build a business where you do not have control over one of the most critical aspects. Scaling that entire model was really a challenge.
So you guys are
So
importing these fully built units from China, I'm guessing, or?
yes, so we were importing from China. We also had domestic suppliers, and then we used to do some branding, and the software part was in-house. So we realized that our strength was software, and for that we do not need to invest so much in hardware. When we got the
But then,
opportunity,
that's such a
we
critical
exited.
thing that people don't understand. When their secret sauce is outsourced, right? Which is, or rather the hardware device itself, you literally are giving your company to someone else, right?
Correct.
To run and to do whatever they want with it.
So we had challenges. We could not, do experiment with design. The overall outcome of the product was not in our control. We were dependent on 3-4 different vendors. They had their own mindset, timeline, and ways of thinking around it. So I think now the overall hardware ecosystem is much more evolved. We have more domestic vendors offering the right type of product and abilities. But at that point of time, it was a different challenge altogether.
What was your peak moment at Piquor when you felt like, I mean, if there's one thing you'll remember Piquor by, it would be that moment.
When Tinder was launched in India, I saw somebody, one photograph which was captured from the device. And at that point, we thought,
Oh,
okay,
wow.
yeah, I think we're doing something right. Uh,
But it was uploaded from the device onto Tinder.
yes.
Like, what led to you now deciding, that okay, instead of what Piquor is doing, I'm going to go after completely different market, right? And we'll get into why you got there. But what was the moment you decided, this is not going to work out? We need to do something else.
So at certain stage, we realized that this is not a very large scalable model just because there are different factors. It requires intensive capital investment. And the overall payback period is a couple of months away. So any business with the right team and right mindset, probably you can run it profitably for, with a couple of crores of revenue. But our realization was that making it a, 10 crore plus type of, sustainable business over a period of time is going to be difficult with this product. So the maximum potential, we were already doing a couple of crores at that point of time. We realized that, probably we need to figure if we are looking at the next league of, let's say, 100 or 1,000 crore type of revenue over 5 to 10 years time, then we need to pick something else. So definitely that was not the product, that was not the market we wanted to be in.
But that's very rare. I think back then, 2 crore revenue per year, right, for a technology startup, especially in the hardware space, considering the model you guys are doing, that's pretty rare. I think it's a pretty proud moment actually. If you could, if you had told us back then, I think any VC would
Yeah.
have been running behind you with some money.
No, for a 25-year-old guy with zero expectation, I think that was a decent outcome. But we realized that no, this is, even if we put best of our time, effort, and all the resources we had at disposal, then scaling it beyond certain revenue was not going to happen. So we realized that let's pick something where we do not have all the challenges. Let's remove the hardware. Let's remove the dependency from other parties. Let's remove the challenges in scaling it up and distribution. So, and from
How
there
easy
we
was it to convince all three founders? You know what? This is not going to work. That's not going to work. Let's cut this out. Let's take whatever's making us, 10, 15 lakh rupees a month right now, and completely do away with it because it's not going to be in the future. How difficult or easy was that to convince at your founder level, and then obviously at your investor level?
So the good thing is when you work with smart people, data says a lot of things. So it was not. I think it was mutually decided that yeah, if we are going to invest next few years of our time in entrepreneurship, this product is not going to be the main outcome. We have to think of something else.
So and then you decided completely like you had a bit of hospitality in your portfolio, but you went completely to the other side, saying you were going to do reputation management for hospitality company. Like when
Yeah.
did that
So
switch? What was the
while we were working with restaurants and hotel, one of the hotel partners, so we had access to customers. So that was one opportunity, and we were not burning money, right? We were almost breaking even. We were making a couple of lakhs every as a profit also. So we had
again a
time.
rarity, by the way?
Yeah, so we had time, we had access to problem areas. We used to meet hoteliers, we used to meet restaurateurs and all other industry professionals. So we were exposed to what type of problem they are facing. And while delivering Piquor, we realized that, okay, there is an opportunity. Somebody said ITC, one of the hotel chain in India. So they said, can you help us post reviews from this device to TripAdvisor? And that clicked. Okay, fine. If they're asking, for a specific feature, probably we can pick it up and remove the hardware from it. So that was our movement when we thought, okay, here we have another opportunity. Let's build something purely on in SaaS model where distribution is not a challenge, and it can be distributed to a larger market.
So when you said we, did you mean you were the founders were personally meeting the customers?
Yes. So since we were selling, these devices, we were still working with a lot of active customers. So we had opportunity to meet customers every day.
So you're telling me, Pranjal, that it's a good idea to meet your customers and they'll tell you what to do.
Definitely. Even today, also, given we make sure that every month we are meeting certain number of people outside our office. Team
It's
members.
so important for founders to understand that, right? That your customer may not always be right, but they must always be heard. I mean, just think about how an entire new business idea came out of maybe meeting an ITC and understanding their pain point. And I've seen so many company pivots happen from such moments, right? Where you meet somebody, you meet a customer, you understand their problem, and then what I'm doing is so stupid because I should be solving this, and this is everyone's problem. And then you guys decided, okay, at the drop of a hat, was it at a drop of a hat? What happened to all the devices? What was the wind down plan for Piquor before Repup started?
So we found a partner who was willing to run it. So we sold licenses of devices to Kodak LRS, the photography company. And they still have, I think, a couple of devices up and running. So we signed a contract with them to, pass on all the revenue opportunities we had with them.
Oh, wow.
And they had a distribution network. They had, studio guys across entire India. So they picked it up and deployed it in a different segment.
And in fact, I think those yellow devices that you see from place to place, are those the ones that were originally yours?
I'm sure, because we were one of the early vendor in this space. I'm sure you might have seen them, some of them at airports and all.
So now tell me, so the idea to start Repup, how that came about? How did the three founders catch up, right? Vineet, Sachin, you had Bharat. Bharat, I'm guessing, left and did something of his own. What was the reshuffle like?
So then we built a new team. Arpit was with us for initial few, some time, and then he also decided to move on. By then, I had, Vineet had already joined. So I also got an opportunity to invite Sachin, and see what we are doing. Sachin was investor in Piquor earlier, so we had given him an exit while building Repup. So after running the entire show for almost 1-2 years time, I invited Sachin to just come and spend some time with us and see if this is this space where he wants to invest a couple of years from his time. And then he decided.
So how did you meet Vineet?
So Vineet is my college friend. So I know him since 2004.
And why did you invite Sachin? You had all these investors, but you chose Sachin to become a co-founder. Why was that?
So so Sachin is known to me since 2009-10 time, and I had known his capability around building the product side, and we were desperately looking for somebody. There was a gap when Arpit left, so we were looking for somebody to fill in that part, and Sachin had the right competency. We had the right synergy. So it was easy decision for all of us to quickly onboard him.
But it's very rare to have somebody get co-founder status 2 years after the company has started, right? And it obviously shows a lot of maturity from your part to do it. But was it easy for you guys to tomorrow come and tell people, you know what, or even the team that we're a tight unit, but guess what, we've got a new co-founder and everybody else, should now respect him as a co-founder. What was that whole dynamic like?
So the good part is when you have a very small team, people value each other based on contribution they are doing in the business. So If we have the right competency in the team member, I don't see that as a challenge. In a 10, 15, 20 people team, it's not such a big deal. So people quickly adapt and start seeing value they are delivering in business.
But did you face any issues at all, or was it relatively an easy kind of a move for you to make?
So I think initially we did not see anything in terms of human issues, but yeah, of course we had to convince our investors. We have to figure out a way to do the equity part and figure out some right way to do taxation and other things. So we had those challenges, but on human side, I don't think there was any issue.
I like the words you use: human side, legal side. It's so compartmentalized with you, Pranjal. It's very interesting. But in the early days of your business, you clearly said that I focus a lot on the CAC, and because I'm guessing a lot of that came from the fact that you came from a hardware business that was actually making money, right? So you
Right.
weren't in a business that was burning cash, right? So you obviously you understood the value of every customer. But what was this whole focus? Tell us a little bit about what this is. And before you start, guys, if there's any questions, I know I have a ton of them, 2 pages full. If anybody has any questions for Pranjal, please go ahead and ask in the comment section below, and we'll take it up as we get time. So Pranjal, the question: what was the focus on CAC?
So you rightly said we had our own challenges running a hardware setup. So we just wanted to get rid of those challenges and build something on top of it. So initially we thought that hotel is a larger opportunity and the overall distribution is much more easier there, and we can India can be a large enough opportunity. We can reach certain revenue just being in India as a market. But when we started working with hotels, we realized that the entire SaaS industry is in a different shape here. Even though we are selling a software which can be used over phone or a desktop, we have to go and physically meet these people to sell. After investing almost 2 years, 2 iterations on the Repup initial version, we decided that our price point and the cost we acquire, cost we incur in sales doesn't justify this price point. So we had to leave one segment altogether, and we decided to shut down our SME vertical. So at one stage we had around one or two representative for every state, starting from Kashmir to till Kanyakumari. But we had to close down that entire team, and then we started focusing on enterprise. So again,
That's
the
like
learning
60
was,
people.
so we had almost 46, 47 people at that point of time. So
Wow. And
we took
did you
again.
have to let go of people, or what happened to those people?
So we had to take some hard calls. We had to, we retained a couple of people who were, working in the enterprise segment, but we had to let go a large chunk of them.
Wow. And that was pretty early.
Yes, I think in 2017. We were happy to acquire a customer, but retention was a challenge. The collection was a problem. Even the cost of support and those things were, looking differently on our MIS. And we got to know those things once we saw the entire life cycle, from first sign up till renewal. After investing, almost 18 months on the SME side, we decided to shut down and just focus on the segment which had the market fitment at a particular price point, where we saw most of the customers are not churning out, they're happy, they're paying on time, and we are able to add value in their life. So SME business, I felt that we are not right for them, and at certain price point we are not doing justice to them, even if
So when you say
certain.
SME in the reputation management space for hospitality, what kind of business would you classify as an SME versus, let's say, a large or an enterprise customer?
So SME are typically all the hotels in without any large brand association. So it may be a standalone guest house or a small hotel with less than, let's say, 50 or 60 rooms, and they might be these are all the boutique and standalone businesses ran by families, and maybe with a lean team where overall focus is just delivering good bed and breakfast. So typically these are all non-branded hotels.
That those are too small because to manage their own reputation.
Yeah, see, the problem exists for everyone, but unless you invest certain amount, it's not justified from our end to offer that service. So we realized that our sweet spot was below $500 annual contract. It doesn't make sense. And for a smaller hotel, that amount was significant enough. Probably if we could have reduced the price by 50%, we would have seen a different type of success. We realized that our pack doesn't justify, the lifetime value is going to be impacted if we reduce our cost.
So now let's just understand, what does Repup do? actually, right? What was Repup's business and what was the value prop you were offering to your customers, which would cost $500 a month?
No, sorry, $500 a year. So for an SME
A year.
business, Repup used to provide a platform to manage all the customer reviews, have analytics around it, understand, what are the pain areas, and how does each and every function of a hotel is performing based on customer reviews and feedbacks. So it used to be a kind of feedback system which is used by even restaurants and all other industry verticals today.
How are you acquiring customers? You said obviously feet on street model was one of them, but how much of this was organic versus inorganic growth?
So we had a large feet on street team for India market. Then we realized that again the cost is huge, and if we are just meeting 4 or 5 people every day, again it's a challenge. So then we decided to build inside sales. Then we again invested some time and resources on building a team where we started calling people, and at least the idea was to reduce 40-50% of the entire sales cycle from offline to online.
And then you met Sanjay Mehta. When did you meet Sanjay Mehta in this whole journey?
So when we were pivoting from Piquor to Repup, I reached out to bunch of investors. Again, all cold emails and LinkedIn messages. And Sanjay is the kind of guy who reads each and every message and responds to them. He liked the idea. He got it validated from Deep Kalra and a couple of other people from the industry. And then we decided to raise a small round.
And so Sanjay actually has been on the show before. I think he was the second investor who we featured on the show, and he's got his own way of thinking, right? Sanjay is one of those. He's always looking for the 100x, which is why I think he's called his VC fund 100x. But what is the role that he's played for Repup? What's the value that he brought on board?
So Sanjay is one of the investors who understand B2B very well. Not just in terms of product, but also in terms of GTM and the challenges faced by entrepreneurs in early days of their journey. So from building our GTM engine to focusing on enterprise segment to finding the right people in industry alignment, I think he has been instrumental. We used to be on call almost every week, from product to all other problem areas. Also, Sanjay is very straightforward. So if we are not doing something right, we will be very upfront to say that, hey, these are the 3 things probably you need to look from a different angle. So it has helped us understand the India as an opportunity, challenges, and definitely around building partnerships and all other areas.
And before we get into the whole India conversation, what was the importance of having a mentor? Period. Let's not just say Sanjay, but you had multiple mentors along your journey. What is the importance you place on them, and how do you choose them? What's the methodology for you?
At any point of time, we have our own challenges, and we want to solve one thing, right? 1 or 2 things which are in our top priority list. So again, coming, Sanjay definitely was always involved. He was on our board and he was actively involved in the business. But we also had around 30 plus other angel investors on our cap table. So we were again lucky to have somebody where we can just pick the phone and call somebody and ask specific question. So like when we decided to switch from SME to enterprise, again we needed to speak with somebody who understands the enterprise business well. When we decided to move outside India and focus on global market, again we wanted to speak with somebody who has done India outbound in global market, have sold in certain price segment. So we had access to people, and at every stage we had our own problem, and we had a lot of people to go to.
And these are how are you finding these people? How are you reaching out to them?
Couple of angels we directly got in touch, and they joined the round. But then we took the round to IAN, and a lot of people joined from that network, Indian Angel Network. As an entrepreneur, it's important to be shameless in asking. So if you're not reaching out to your...
That's what I wanted you to talk about, Pranjal. You're come on, there's founders here. You're making it sound like this is such an easy process. Tell them like how much rejection did you have to deal with? Because I'm sure you reached out to many people, you cold called, but when it comes to finding mentors, not everybody is available, right? But so how like I think that the real question I would want to ask you is like, how important are mentors? Obviously you've answered that, but how do you find them, right? And how do you know how much time does it take? Because many times people say I don't know anybody, but honestly, it's not that's not really the right answer.
Yeah, so as you said, we need to be ready with to face a lot of rejection. I have a number for it. So I think my success rate is less than 6 to 7%. If I don't take 100 initiative, I know that I'm going to fail. So my key to success lies in taking those 100 initiatives. We cannot be so unlucky to just, to get zero outcome from 100 initiatives. But you need to be ready to face those 93 negative results as well. So you keep trying. You keep your pitch ready. You should have a very clear ask from anybody who is busy, who has a lot of things to solve. So if you know that what you're looking for, you're crisp, then I'm sure people are more nicer that way. If you reach out to strangers on LinkedIn, also people respond. Certain people may not respond. You may not get answer from specific person you want to reach out. But if you have a problem in mind, and if you reach out to certain number of people, I'm sure answer is there. There will be somebody who is willing to get on a call with you for 30 minutes and share their learnings.
So your key to success on cold calling in LinkedIn is to have a much more specific problem. Because I mean, I get requests all the time, but half the time those requests are from people that have not even read my profile and are just randomly emailing me to be mentors for them. So what was your key? Were you actually going through the profiles, making sure at least I know a little bit about this person before I?
Yeah. So when you're contextual, you obviously have to understand what value you are expecting from him and why he's the right guy. And for that, you have to know the person. You have to spend time to figure out, read through all the publicly available material about that person, and understand why he is the right person. Also, we have to think from the other person perspective. He or she may not have time to spend on a cold email or a call. So again, you need to give them something so that they take your message seriously. As an entrepreneur, you have to figure out certain ways to write messages in such a way that people are willing to respond.
What was your key? What book, what blog, what did you read got you the key to your success?
So good part about SaaS businesses, there are a lot of good content available from the US ecosystem. The bad part is India, you apply it and you fail miserably. So there are a lot of content. I used to follow David Scott. I also used to follow a lot of people on Twitter. So there are good bunch of podcast and material available on web.
Any one thing you would recommend to someone who's about to cold call from tomorrow using Pranjal's strategy?
So cold calling and email is a very fast evolving space. Every 3 months your script need to change, but yeah, you can find some good podcasts. I think one of my favorite podcast around SaaS would be, I'll come back on this part in a while.
Well, I'll definitely ask you again, but I will completely agree with you on the cold emailing part. Obviously I've been a door-to-door salesman, so cold calling was in my blood when I started. But when we started raising money for our current fund, we actually prepared a list of 4,000 or 4,500 people in India who were, at some level of income, right? And this was all cold. I mean, we just aggregated this information from different databases. But the idea was that if you're part of a listed company, you're from that family, we have to have your email, and we're going to start we're going to find a way to cold email you or to cold approach you to get your interest, and then obviously go from there to build a relationship. And it's been surprising, like it is a lot of effort, right? We use software cadences to make sure follow-ups are happening on time, but the results have been amazing, right? I mean, if I count how much we spent in time and effort versus the result we've got and the business we built, I think like you said, 5 or 6% that's all it requires. I think a cold email conversion rate is like less than 1%. So if you're getting 5 or 6%, it's pretty high. So you're obviously doing something right, and you should write a blog, Pranjal, about your strategy, maybe giving some of your templates out for other founders to use to find mentors like Sanjay.
So there is another website which I can recommend for people who are looking, for some ideas around cold initiatives. There's a company called salesprocess.io. So they provide specific templates and they help you build processes where you understand what should be written and how it should be written. So people can refer to certain resources like this.
You said salesprocess.io.
.io.
Cool. I'm posting that for everyone to see. Salesprocess.io. So good. Let's talk about raising VC money now, right? You came to I and you pitched, Did you ever think that you would raise all the money that you had set out to? Because I know your round was oversubscribed.
So initially, we just wanted to, have some money so that we can do experiment and invest in building GTM around it. But when we started working closely with, once we identified a couple of lead investors, we got a chance to spend time with them and think about how much we want to raise, where are we going to deploy it, and what outcome we should expect, by deploying those money. So we spent good amount of time with Sanjay on building the entire business model, and he was patient enough to, guide us through, building that entire model and help us, see where all it can go wrong and put all the assumptions around it. And then we eventually managed to raise that amount.
And after that, you made a very big decision because you decided that India was not your market after raising money and decided to go global instead, which is a very big decision considering that you had not raised enough money to go global. What was the thought process behind that?
So when we left the SME market, the overall market size reduced drastically for us. And again, we were in that space where we had to either figure out another market or figure out another way to charge more money from existing smaller set of enterprise hotels. So from suddenly 65,000 hotels in India, we were reduced to a market size of say 15,000. So we had to figure out another way to, bridge that gap. And that's when we decided to look at foreign market. Though we did not have money, we raised a small debt. We raised through debentures, CCDs, and we deployed that money in figuring out Southeast Asian market.
And what was the success like? What was the differences between selling to an Indian hotel owner versus or enterprise hotel owner versus globally?
So when we went to Southeast Asia and US market, we realized that we should have done this long back. So to every founder, though India may be a large opportunity, and I'm sure there are a lot of businesses building large revenue from Indian customers. But if your product is good and if you feel that you're willing to solve a large global problem, we should not wait for a certain time. We should immediately probably start selling in global market. Though focus is the key, we cannot just go and start selling in 10 different countries in the first few months of our journey. But it's important to have that mindset where you think of a problem from a global perspective and you start doing it. Maybe you start building the product from that mindset. Overall, today our 60% revenue is coming from global markets. So our India contribution has reduced to 40%.
And the number of customers, if you have to split that, is that 60-40 as well? Or the number, are you getting higher revenues from your global customers? So numbers wise, they're lesser number, but revenue wise, they're a much larger component.
Yeah. So for the same product, which the pricing is different. Outside India, in certain developed countries, you are able to charge 4 or 5 times higher than what you used to charge from Indian customer. And if you're using inside sales, then the cost of acquisition remains very low. Overall number of customers, even if you're doing slightly less number of customers, the overall outcome in terms of revenue is going to be significantly higher.
If you had to give 3 pieces of advice to any founder who wants to now go global with his B2B SaaS product, what would those 3 things you would say? Do these 3 things before you start selling abroad?
When we step out, see, India is a home ground, right? We understand ways of doing business. We understand how people respond, behave, but whenever we are stepping into a new geography, we need to understand the human part of it first. Before we start and start pitching, we need to figure out how does the entire country operates. There are so many small things around culture which we should think of before we jump on that first call. If we understand how that entire ecosystem is operating, the overall job becomes much more easier. So that will be the first thing. Second, focus on customer problem. Be ready that your product, which has achieved product market fitment in India, may not give you the same success in, let's say, US or Europe or UK for that matter. You think of it as achieving your product market fit from scratch. Maybe you don't need to code the entire product again, but certain changes, UI, navigation, localization, maybe adding a couple of other integrations that might be required to make it usable for a new geography. So that will be the second. And third, we should speak with people before we go and visit that geography. We should try to speak with 30, 40, 50 people over phone, and then go and take a tour, meet certain people, plan to deploy accordingly.
In fact, Snape Pallav asked a very relevant question that we should probably take on, which is like, did you change your product when going to a global market?
Yes. So again, when we left the SME market, we realized that our ability to charge from a very large hotel is limited to what value we are adding. So that's when we decided to enhance the product scope and add more modules around it. So from Repup, we launched an enterprise product, which is called Experium. And the price point was 10 times higher than what we used to charge for Repup. And
wow.
that product was meant for all the laser destinations like Bali, Maldives, and all those places. So we have to rethink about the value we are delivering.
So what was the highest number of customers? What was the customer count at the highest level? Number of hotels?
So pre-COVID, we used to have 2,000 plus hotels across the globe.
How did that feel? 2,000 hotels. That's a lot of hotels.
No, I think that's still a very small number. So idea is to have at least 10% of market share wherever we are actively working. Even India is a large opportunity when you add SME. And that was the reason we decided to pursue this merger, where with integrated product suite, we have ability to redo the SME market, which we had left in 2017. So I think having 50,000 or plus number, more hotels would be exciting.
50,000 is that the number you're going after now?
Yes.
So what tell us about this merger, which is going to get you to 50,000 and beyond.
Right. So I have known Aditya from Hotel Logics and Anil and Ravi from XViii Rooms for quite some time, because we provide solution to same set of customers. We had a lot of common customers and we were meeting each other. We had integration also. We realized that we are solving same GTM problem with 3 different products, and that is creating an inefficiency within the 3 companies, because the same to sell to same set of hotels across different part of the world, we have 3 different ways to reach out to them. We realized that a large company can come out only if it is solving a category problem end to end. Repup was solving one part of problem, which was around customer experience. But again, we did not have any competency in the operations part or the distribution or sales technologies. We realized that if we come together and build an all-in-one stack and become the largest IT vendor for any hotel, that will change a lot of things, because our customer acquisition cost will be now reduced to one third. In the founding team, everybody believed that if we do the integration in the right way, there is a large opportunity within the existing customer base of almost 14,000 hotels, including all the OYOs and all. So if we just do the right integration and right cross-sell, upsell, that's a fairly large opportunity. So we decided to take that. Again, that was a very risky decision. We do not see 3-way merger with so much cultural difference, but we decided to believe in that and started that journey.
There are obviously challenges of this tripartite merger, but what is it like now to be part of this larger consortium together?
So the good part is we have everything within the group. Aditya and his team, they come with a lot of experience in operations space. Similarly, XViii Room team, they come with a good experience around distribution technology and a large distribution network and connection in the industry. We come as technology and product guys with a very lean mindset and agility. We are known to deliver good products at a short span of time. So we have experience, we have network, we have ability to quickly build things and roll out. Though it's not easy, I'll still say that we are still in the middle of figuring out the right structure and right framework to take it forward. That journey, it's not easy to work with 5 different co-founders who have had their own journey, who have their own ways of solving problems. We do have our own challenges and conflicts. It keeps coming out once in a while, but over a period of time, we have realized that everybody is coming with certain strength, and if we focus on the strength part, as a company, as a team, we are able to move much faster.
I would imagine that getting 5 co-founders on the same decision would take a lot of time, or a lot of beers for that matter.
Yeah, so a lot of our decisions are discussed over either beer or biryani. So
there we go. That's what I would have imagined. But I believe that you've got a new launch coming up. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what's coming up and what's happening with this merger?
So the merger. So we had 3 core objectives with this merger. One was to introduce an all-in-one product for the SME segment, because all of us were selling 3 different modules individually, and we believe that there's a lot of magic which is not being exploited from the data lying across 3 different products. So we are launching a new product. Again, name is not decided yet. We are calling it AIOS. That should hit the market around November end. That will be one product which will solve every problem of a hotelier from distribution, operations, and customer experience perspective. That is meant for global market, and we are currently working aggressively on using the existing modules to come up with a product which has strengths which are not available in industry currently. So the idea is to create a product which is at least 1 year ahead from current product stack, which are available across the globe, and offer it to global SME market.
In terms of, I guess, post-COVID numbers, where are you guys at now? Because globally, obviously, a lot more hotels have opened up than they have in India. So where are you guys standing in terms of traction?
So I think our worst time was April and May, when our revenue dropped by almost 80%, 85%. Good thing is now some certain countries have started domestic operations. And another good part is, since we are not dependent on just one geography, certain countries are contributing good revenue today also. We are at Repup, and we are back to almost 50% of our revenue. At the group front, I think we should break even within a month or 2 months' time.
Wow, that's amazing. Amazing. Any more acquisitions then to do? You guys are breaking even. Everybody else is hurting.
So right now, I think if we are able to derive value which is lying, in this merger, that will be, still an achievement for us over next 12 to 18 months time. But we do have aggressive expansion plan once market responds.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you because obviously being early in Oyo, as well as having family business and hospitality, the product you guys have is the need of the hour, right? It's not just about. I mean, reputation management is such an important part because everything is online and only becoming increasingly digital. But then the other parts that you're adding on with hotel logics and access rooms, and channel management, things like that. I think those, as a complete product, this is the company. This is like a complete suite now. And I really see some amazing times ahead. I think you could now, as you correctly said, go back and crack the SME market, because now you come with a much more larger suite of products, rather which would probably cater to so many different verticals. And it'd be difficult for an SME or a single single mom and pop hotel to not have you, because it would be like running a grocery store without any still with the old register and trying to figure out inventory on notebooks, right? So it definitely is the need of the hour. We've got a short rapid fire round for you, just like we do for everybody else. The rules are very simple. We'll take about 10 or 11 questions, just shoot them at you, whatever first comes to mind. And I know you're a very frank person, so it's not difficult for you. Just shoot it out, give us the answer. And if we find some interesting thing to go deeper into, we'll go from there. Are you prepared for that?
Sure.
And I think, like I promised, we're pretty much on time. We'll only be about 2 or 3 minutes over. So the first question I'll start with, Pranjal, one thing that you know to be true, but very few people agree with you on it.
Okay. So I think that would be, in the current context, merger. I asked some of my VC friends and industry friends that what is the chances of success. So one of the close friend, he said 20%. I said I'll take that chance. Currently, I'm operating with just 7% luck. So 20% is.
One piece of advice to founders about fundraising. Now that you've got 3 founders groups, I'm sure there is some gyan over there.
Don't raise if you don't need it, really. So raise it only if you have clear plans to deploy it once you have reached product market fitment. Use that money for expansion. Use that money for accelerator in action. But don't just raise because you want to raise.
Who is your favorite superhero?
So I think that would be Iron Man. I know
Iron Man.
this answer has been repeated on your show, but we have the same
Why
mindset,
Iron
I
Man?
believe. He's real. I mean, that's something you can dream of achieving that someday, and that still has some chance.
Scaling before profitability before scaling, or rather indoors.
I think if you know that you can scale it up, it's okay to burn, right? As long as you know that at the right stage you will be able to take a couple of actions and bring it to profitability. It should be under your control. You should not just be burning things, and you do not have any clue to fix it. It's okay to burn as long as it is needed, and if you're able to move fast, if you have money, if you have time and market is ready for it, it's okay to burn. But you should know that what needs to be done to make it profitable.
That's a very key thing. I think, and very well said that, like burn because you have an objective to meet, but also know exactly how to get out of it if things go out of control. If you could pick the brain of one person for 24 hours, ask them anything you want.
So I have been fortunate to have this person in access now. It would be Shekhar Kirani. And now since he's part of our board, I'm not getting 24 hours, but I'm definitely getting some insights.
Shekhar, if you're listening, you got to give this guy 24 hours, man. Just 24 hours. That's one of his wishes. So, people have said Elon Musk, they've counted out, Bill Gates. I mean, we've had so many answers. This is the first time someone says there's a board member that I would like to spend 24 hours with. So, Shekhar, if you're listening in, please take 24 hours, give it to our man, and let's fulfill that wish. One thing you would like to change about the Indian startup ecosystem?
I think the overall perspective should be slightly broader. We should think of global problems. We should focus on value. I'll again borrow a keyword from Prasanna. So he has a word for companies called vanity SaaS. So there are companies chasing some numbers, but it doesn't realize in terms of money in bank or overall outcome for all the stakeholders. So we should chase value, we should chase revenue, we should chase real businesses. A lot of indicators, lot of data in our MIS that may not actually be usable after a while. So I think focusing on value rather than on certain vanity metrics, that should change. Businesses should be seen based on efficiency, revenue, the customer retention, and all those things, not just based on how much money they have raised, type of brand ambassadors they have. So those things probably we should get rid of.
Thank you, Pranjal. I think you really are taking a gun to a very specific part, but I call them fluff metrics, right? Or rather, I mean, I don't remember where I read it, but they're all fluffy, right? They're like, this doesn't really mean anything, right? It's like when in 1999, it was the number of clicks or the number of eyeballs, but it wasn't revenue, right? And I'm surprised that 20 years later, we're still talking about numbers that, like you correctly said, have no impact on the bank account whatsoever. Right? So even if that go 10x, it doesn't really mean anything, right? So important, like, chase the right metrics, right? Let the other ones be. According to you, and what is one thing that investors should bring to the table other than money?
Tough questions. So if investors are not asking the right and tough questions to founders, I don't see any right uses of that money as well. So apart from money, they need to write the right questions. They need to be very frank and put founders in a tough position in board meetings. I think they should.
I thought founders want investors to be founder friendly.
You can be friendly, still ask the right relevant questions, right?
I know what you're saying. I was just yanking your chain, but yeah, I mean it's important, right? Because we're the ones that are seeing the business more from, I would say, 20 stories up, right? And you all are seeing the business from ground floor, right? And sometimes the guy who's standing 20 floors up can actually see what's about to happen and be more, relevant while you're busy. They're the ones charting out looking at where the territory is getting charted out. When do you get your best work done? Morning or night?
I'm a night person, so usually best of the ideas and best of the work happens after 10 or 11.
So guys, if you want to reach out for any kind of thing to Pranjal, best time is late at night after 10 or 11. So I guess I'm going to finish the show and you're going to get to work, right? So I would be like the coffee right before you go to work. 3 books you would recommend to founders, any founder to read?
So there are many good books available in the market, but I will say from product perspective, right now, one of the topic would be Escaping the Build Trap. So I've just finished reading it. It's by Melissa Perry. From process side, I would suggest a book which talks about OKR, objectives and key responsibility. That is called Measure What Matters.
Matters, yeah.
Yeah.
John Doerr.
Yes. Again, that's an amazing book. It has made a lot of impact in our business and our efficiency significantly. And the third would be, can I suggest non-business books?
Yeah, go ahead.
So there is a book which talks about biases, Art of Good Life. I like that because it gives a glimpse of what all can go wrong, what all you might be thinking wrong.
What was the name again?
Art of Good Life.
Art of Good Life. Okay, good. I think we'll put those three names in the comment section.
All
Since you ended it, you gave a third book that is non-business. I'll ask you a question that is non-business as your final question, which is, if you were to be convicted for a crime, what would it be?
I think that would be brutality in terms of being too straightforward.
Has that ever got you into trouble?
That's not the that is a challenge also sometimes if we are not using it in the right manner. We have our own differences, and I'm sure some of my new co-founders would give you right feedback on that front. But yeah, I'm also trying to work on that part so that eventually we have the right way to come to a consensus.
Hopefully, we'll be in a future episode, I'll be able to invite one of them to come on board, and then we can talk about, once obviously the entire merger is done, talk about it post merger. I think, Pranjal, with that, I think we have. Let's just take this one last question, and that should be the end. I think the question is, how do you handle implicit biases in your products or businesses? How important is diversity and inclusion to handle bias?
That's a tough one. So there are biases. I mean, one of the biggest bias we have is based on our own experience. We try to always, do certain things because we are familiar with certain. Especially in the current situation when we are in a three-way merger, everybody is coming with different ways of doing business. It's important to focus on one thing, which can be either your customer or it can be your employee, or maybe. So you have to leave it, to solve a bias situation. You have to have a higher goal in life, probably, and that can be, how does it impact my customer? If I'm trying to build a product or functionality in certain way, if you keep the customer in center, then probably your biases will be slightly. Second way can be having a debate, understanding perspective of different people, having a metrics around, putting things in terms of number. Okay, if we do this, these are the outcomes, these are the costs, and take decision based on data.
Great answer, Pranjal. I don't. There's no better way to end this conversation than put the customer in the center, and that's how you're going to figure things out, and let data decide decisions and not gut, right? So, Pranjal, before we end the show, thank you so much, first of all, for taking out the time. I know you had a bit of apprehension because our shows get too long, but like I promised, we're only about 5 or 6 minutes over. But if people want to reach out to you, the best way to reach out to you is via email, which is pranjal@repup.co. It's already on the screen for everybody. Pranjal, any closing thoughts before we end for the night?
Thank you so much. I think this is the right time to build companies. Entire economy is being redefined. We are seeing new user behavior. My advice to entrepreneurs and businesses would be to focus on innovation, and probably this 2020 will reset a lot of things in different industries.
Thanks a lot, Pranjal. Have a fantastic year ahead. And I'm sure in a future episode when we have you back, you'll be discussing how we got down to 50,000 hotels. I think when we get that number, we would love to have you back and discuss how we got from 2,000 to 50,000. Thank you so much. Good night. Good night, everybody.